No. Button was torn off of one during his fight with Matt. There's no blood on here, by the way. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt I had to protect him. I don't know, this is kind of messy. From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. But why? Why would you have the feeling? Cause he was... he wasn't... It wasn't obvious how he died. You would think it was the knife, but actually he was strangled. No. Apparently that's not it. From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. Corida's fingerprints, Andrew's fingerprints. On guard's fingerprints. I know what his motive was, but I don't have any way to prove I'm right. I mean, is this where I bring up Celeste? No, it's not. I don't know what I need to do here. I have no idea what I need to do here. Man, the pressing, it's kind of messed up the text. I know what his motive was, but I don't have any way to prove I'm right. I have no idea what the game wants from me. He didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. Does he not? Weren't they eating? There were two dishes. Weren't the two of them eating in their room? There were two dishes. Yeah, no, but they were T-bone steaks inside on guard's room. So he like ate and then murdered and then slept in the span of 15 minutes? Jamin ninja was ripped from his costume, is covered in Korida's blood, found in Nengar's Hakama. Covered in Korida's blood. Well, actually, how would you know that Matt killed him from looking at this? You wouldn't. Okay, wait. From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. How? How? Come on. I seem to remember she talked about the button. Here? No, like, how would you... From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. How would you know that? Why would you think that? Gossip Land. I know what his motive was. It's not the gossip, is it? I'm Matt's manager, so I felt I had to protect him. I have no idea. Alright, walkthrough time. What? Okay. That button was torn off of Juan during his fight with Matt. Which could have happened. But apparently that is inconsistent with the fact that he's strangled. I don't see how... Oh, that's a real stretch. That's a real stretch. Okay. I think I get what they're trying to say here. He was strangled to death and then stabbed. And because there's blood on the button came off after he was stabbed. And because of that, the button couldn't have come off during the fight, because by the time the blood got onto the button, he was already strangled. Is what they're trying to say here. And that's what's wrong with this. Which you would remember that I actually tried to present the autopsy at one point. I just didn't present it here. Where did I present it? I presented it here because it didn't... Anyway. You have to present it precisely here, apparently. I mean... This is the I mean, again, it's like I'm trying to figure out what buttons the game wants me to press, because like I clicked on the button, and apparently like I tried the button, it didn't work. I tried the autopsy report, but not on this sentence, and it didn't work. Like, you know, I kind of had it. Like I tried the knife, like the knife didn't fit. Like I knew the knife and the button didn't really fit. Anyway, it's the autopsy report on the sentence. That's what you're supposed to click on. This is the victim's autopsy report. It clearly states that the cause of death was strangulation by a scarf. Strangulation? The knife stab to the victim was done after the victim had already died. Yeah, that's what they want me to do. I tried the button, I tried the knife, but it's not those, it's the autopsy report. Even though the knife and the button is involved in this. And what does that mean? Let's examine the evidence. This button has the victim's blood on it, which would mean that it was ripped off of the costume when? After the knife was stabbed into the victim. Exactly, which means it is impossible that this button was torn off during the victim's final struggle. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because Andrews wouldn't have known anyway. I mean, she just says that, but it doesn't matter because if her story is right, she doesn't actually know when the button came off. She could have just assumed it and said it. It doesn't mean that she's necessarily lying or that she's hiding anything. That's not solid evidence for anything. Because why would she know anyway? She just knew that his button had blood on it and it's in his pants. He doesn't know how it got there. It's not really, I guess, not really a thing. Like, anyway. It is impossible that this button was torn off during the victim's final struggle, because the victim was strangled to death in that fight. Ah! That's right, Miss Andrews. Like, he's so smug, look how smug he is. That's not actually relevant to the case. The fact that she assumed but shouldn't actually know. There is no way this button was ripped off during the struggle. Yes, so what? She wasn't there to see the struggle anyway. This button was consciously pulled off of the victim's already dead body. How do you know? Maybe he accidentally pulled it off somehow. Order! What is the meaning? Yeah, exactly. What is the meaning of this, right? That's not solid evidence, come on. So what if the button was torn off the body after the victim had already died? What does that change? Exactly, what does that change? Let me ask you one simple question, Mr. Edgeworth. Why was the button torn off? What purpose did that serve? What purpose? We now know this button was not torn off during the fight. So the murderer took the time and effort to purposely rip this from the victim's body. That would mean that the murderer had something in mind, wouldn't it? Or it could still have been an accident. Mr. Wright, does this mean you know what the murderer wanted to do with this button? What is it? To pin the crime on guard. There is only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. On Guard. There is no way anyone would put a bloody button in their own pants. Maybe they're into it. Maybe they enjoy putting things in their pants. I mean, I sometimes put things in my pants. You know what, never mind. That's right, Mr. On Guard was set up. By the real killer, of course. And the real murder is... the real murderer. Murderer, Judge. Judge, murderer. Well, Mr. Wright, who in the world is the real killer then? Finally! I can't believe I managed to bring this trial all the way up to this point. Yeah, no, neither can I. It's not. That's. Yeah, no, that's not. It's not as solid as you think. It's. It still could have been an accident. Phoenix, you can't let your guard down yet. Not until the very end. The real killer, the person who planned to frame Mr. On Guard, is. The real killer, the person who planned to frame Mr. On Guard. I mean, it has to be Adrian. It has to be Adrian. Juan wouldn't kill himself, would he? No. It has to be Adrian. Miss Adrian Andrews! I choose you! You are Mr. Corretta's killer! I choose you. Nani? Order! Mr. Wright! This is a very grave matter. Do you have any evidence that supports your charge? Any evidence? All of the evidence points to Miss Andrews. How preposterous. You can't stick any of that on me. I can't, can I? Would you care to test me? Then what about this knife? The knife was used to stab the victim after he had already been strangled to death. It was used to throw suspicion onto On Guard, naturally. A knife covered in the defendant's fingerprints could only be taken from his room. And the only one who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you! Ah! Then, what about the button that was found in Matt's Hakama? This button was removed from the victim's body after he had already died. The only people who could have done so were the person who found his body or the killer. However, if Mr. On Guard was the real killer, there is no way he would have put such incriminating evidence in his own Hakama. Ah! It's the glasses. The only person who could have put this button into Mr. On Guard's Hakama is the person who went to wake him up from his nap, which is you, yet again, Miss Andrews. I see. What about the empty guitar case? Yeah, no, her fingerprints aren't on the guitar case. That is also another piece of evidence that incriminates Miss Andrews. That costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the crime scene. Yeah, but her fingerprints aren't on it. Now, who could have known that there was just such a costume inside the guitar case? It could only have been the person who prepared the costume for the victim. And that person is you, Miss Adrian Andrews. No, aye. But Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere to be found on the guitar case, exactly. And it was you who proved that she was not wearing gloves at the time. That's right. That's because she did not intend on leaving any prints. If anyone had found out that she had touched the case, they would have asked her why. So to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open it. A towel or something else. She used a bear. She used one of the teddy bears to open it. But the glass of tomato juice is a different story. Miss Andrews purposefully left her fingerprints on the glass to show that yes, indeed, she was the classic dazed discoverer of a dead body. Ah! And to top it all off, there is this photo. A photo of the killer as they exited the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on Earth can believe this Neko Samurai is Mr. On Guard. He would be much too short for his own costume if it was him. Speaking of how tall people are, Miss Andrews, you're also kind of short in stature, are you not? Please, stop! Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? She used a towel or something? She used a towel or something to open the guitar case? Or something? Unbelievable. I've got her this time. Miss Andrews! I refuse to testify. What was that? There's a law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me. Well, yes. You are absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. The law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination by allowing a witness to not testify if the testimony can cause damage to themselves. Nani? Pleading the fifth is not something most people would think to do on the spot. Actually, thinking back to yesterday in Mr. On Guard's room. Adrian Andrews! Yes. Think hard about what we just discussed. Understood? Alright. That's it. That's when Francisca planted this idea into her head. She must have told Miss Andrews not to testify if things look bad. You did a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. But there is still one thing you haven't done. Something I haven't done? What's wrong, Wright? Are you finished already? Run out of evidence? What is so humorous, Mr. Edgeworth? I'm sure you realize this as well, Your Honor. But everything the good lawyer here has proven up to this point is meaningless. Nani? Everything you have proven is circumstantial. Circumstantial? Yes, circumstantial. You have yet to provide a single piece of definitive proof. Proof that Miss Andrews did in fact harbor a wish to murder Mr. Corrida. No, you gave us the proof. Miss Andrews, did you want to kill Mr. Corrida? I believe this may lead to me incriminating myself, so I will abstain from answering. That is already an answer. If the answer will incriminate you, that means you are guilty. Right? Right. But Miss Andrews, if you do that, it would be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think? Maybe so, or maybe not. There is nothing to prove it either way. Besides, you don't even know what crime I would be guilty of due to my silence. No! She's taking that defiant attitude again. Mia, what should we do? Somehow we've landed in the worst possible situation. No, we haven't. Come on, forced drama. I think we have reached a certain conclusion at this point in time. Miss Adrian Andrews has refused to testify. And the defense's theory that she is the actual murderer has not been fully substantiated with solid definitive proof. But that's not true! In this situation, there is only one thing this court can do, and that is to declare a recess! Recess? I request that both the prosecution and the defense look further into this matter. And at tomorrow's trial... Tomorrow? We don't have a tomorrow! If we don't get a not guilty verdict today, then... Please wait, Your Honor. That's not necessary. The trial... Please continue the trial. What are you sweating for? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he? That's not it. This isn't about that. Edgeworth, I know you know who the real killer is. You're asking the prosecutor to help you? Please, let the trial continue. If I don't get the verdict, then Maya... But it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is... It is not impossible for this trial to continue. Mr. Edgeworth, what are you... It's true Miss Andrews holds the right against self-incrimination. However, if the topic of conversation was something unrelated to whatever she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony. Yes, that is very true, but... Actually, there is one little thing that I am curious about. Miss Andrews. When you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice. Yes, and I can't help but think how unnatural that is. Now you have a problem with this? You didn't have a problem with this for the past 10 hours? Usually when one finds a body, they are shaking up, not stirring a glass of juice. So my actions were unusual, but I've already Before you speak, I want to state that if you have a reason behind your actions, I would like you to testify to that effect. Testify! Your Honor, I would like to request that the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever we find out in this testimony should in no way implicate the witness. And how do you know that? How do you know that, Edgeworth? Come on. I don't know what it is about Edgeworth today, but I can't get a good read off of him. Is he friend or foe? I just don't know. The court acknowledges the prosecution request. Miss Andrews, if you please. What? When I found the body? Why? That glass of juice! I didn't really pour it for myself. I was surprised when I walked into the room and saw it was in that messy state. And Juan, he was sitting slumped over and tired looking in the corner. When I saw him sitting like that, the thought that he was dead didn't cross my mind. To be honest, I thought he had just fainted or something, so I went to pour him some juice. When I realized that he was dead, that's when I knocked the flower vase over. You knocked the flower vase over, but carefully put down the glass. So you poured that glass of juice for the victim. Why didn't you say so in your earlier testimony? I didn't think I needed to include something so trivial as juice. Phoenix, please be careful here. If you can't find anything wrong with this testimony, then there's nothing left. I know. Edgeworth, what the heck is going on in that brain of yours? Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.